Hello, everybody. This is Pete from PA Labs, and I'm back to give you a WarGame update. And you're probably asking, why am I looking at a web page? Well, easy answer is we are dealing with hexagonal grids. I spent literally all day on this one page of this web page. Now, there's an awful lot of information here. It goes into the geometry of hexagons, which is awesome because this is where you get your formulas for where stuff is and how to place your grids and all of that kind of stuff. And you have the flat top and you have the pointy top, and it's an active sort of screen. You can select things and check it out, and he gives you all the equations. Now, the equations here, I believe, are written, I'm guessing it's in C. To be honest, I'm not terribly positive about that. But that being aside, what I have done is come into this web page with the desire to figure out, as you're trying to move a unit, what hexes are you going through? So, what are the formulas that we actually have to calculate? Now, what he does quite heavily is he has a three-dimensional approach, which is a little on the mind-blowing side, a three-dimensional approach to a hexagon. So a hexagon is a cube as far as he's concerned. So where you are in the cube relates to what hex you're in. So you have three sets of coordinates, and the sum of the three coordinates is always zero. So that being aside, I started with his formulas of conversion and started converting all of this to PureBasic. Okay. So converting an axle cube to axle. Axle is your two-dimensional row and column versus the cube of row, column, and height. So in the three-dimension to two-dimension. Okay. And so we return cubes or we return hexes. Some of the math in here is done on cubes, so you got to flip things to different configurations to do the math. And then we went down here to say, okay, we have an identification of the grid that we're building here, which I believe is this one. Let's see, it may be even. Let's go look. I can't remember, but that's okay. It's irrelevant. It's even or odd is a, whoops, that's not what we're looking at. We're going to go with this. And this is the current code on the WarGame. It's coming along quite nicely. Um, like I said, today was not a huge day, or yesterday was not a huge day for visible code. It's going to be a lot of code behind the scene. So we have our war game. Oh, yes, I got the menus in, although I've decided I don't like that. Um, so let's see. Oh, you want me to do this? There's the move cursor. So this is what I'm trying to get to is if you want to move him to here, what he's going to do is draw a line for you to show that we're moving there. And then down here, I'm going to put your movement costs and how many turns it's going to take you. So if you want to move one turn, may only be to here, and then the second turn is to there. Well, you could go ahead and queue that up, I think. Haven't decided exactly yet. But the key is to figure out what cells, if I move to here, what cells does that traverse through? So we have the first row is down. So let's jump back to that web page. The first row is down. So we're using an even queue, columns, even columns are a plus half. Okay, so I think I went with an odd, but I don't know. I'll go look and check the math. It matters here. Let's see. This is oh, these are the double coordinate systems. Okay. Yes, it matters. Where is the? I don't know. I can't remember anymore. Ah, right here. Here we go. So it matters here really because what you have, depending on this cell, if you're going to move to this cell, well, that's a different row, but based on your column, we don't know. We got to work the math out to get to what is the row and column to move northwest as opposed to southeast, as opposed to south and north. Okay, so getting the directions here. Now he's got them as axial coordinates here as well. So we have the various hex plus and minus to get from A to B. So this is the next piece that I put in. And so what I want to do is I want to show you the website because it's extremely important. So we did this. So this is the set of numbers that I have to use, which is easily changed. And actually, eventually, if I build this thing out to the point that it can take any of the hex versions, then it'll actually have to account for a couple of these. And so then we start doing the math of what is the neighbor in his direction and how do you get from what is the row column difference to go here, the row column difference to go there, and see how this website's built so it tracks you all the way through what's going on. So, and you can play with diagonals, and then we start looking at distances. How many uh, distance, what is the distance from this hex to get to this hex? Well, that all depends on your grid style and it depends on a lot of things. So this is one that actually converts to cube and then back to the axial coordinates and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. I took all of this and I've put it all. This is the one that I was after right here. And to get to here, it took a whole lot of other functions to get to being able to build this function because he's calling all these other functions inside there. And so what I've done is I have all of this in into PureBasic language. Okay. All day yesterday, I was adding to this. Hex helper is what it is. And right now, it's more in the language of the website. So I built structures of hex and a structure of the vectors and cubes. Directions, these are his order of the directions. Parity, whether we're playing even or odds. And then started handling the various functions. And so if you look at he's returning a vector. So which would be a full structure. So in PureBasic, you have to give me the structure or a handle to the structure, and then I load your structure with the answer, and that's how this guy happens to work. So to give you some of the examples, we have cube rounding, we have cube to axial, axial to cube. We have to convert with floats versus integers. That was fun. And then we end up down here with all of his lerps and oh my God, it was quite a day yesterday. So I've been actually playing with this great big return. This is the reachable to where it'll try to path around things you can't go through. So if you had blockages, I'll show you on the website real quick. That one's really cool. It's a little farther down. Here it is. So he's got these red or whatever color this is. These are obstacles. So you can see how it's mapping around the different obstacles, trying to find a way to get to where you're going. So that's the one I was working on yesterday, converting this function here into PureBasic with all of its children functions that are being referenced and called as well. So getting closer on him. So then I started building some tests down here. And one of the ones I just finished this morning was if you need to know the direction an adjacent hex is to the source. So what I did was build a source hex of 5.5 and said, okay, I'm going to select 5.4, which is due north, right? So adjacent is to hex would be north. The source is to the adjacent would be south. I hope I got these right. Maybe I got them 180 off. I have a very bad habit of that. So if we run this, the first two answers up here are going to be 2 and 5. Okay. So 2 and 5 goes back to the source direction. So adjacent is 0, 1, 2 north of the source. And the source, and that's 2, 3, 4, 5, is south of the reverse of that. So the source is south of the destination of the adjacent hex, but yet the adjacent hex is north of that. So you get it from both directions. Okay, these will be important when you're actually starting to work out combat and where things are, and then what's the distances between hexes, because artillery fires three hexes or something, right? So we need to know that the distance between one hex to another hex is how many, like here you go. So we have hex A and hex B. What is the distance between hex A and hex B? And this is from 0, 0 to 5, 0. Okay. Now I've got an awful lot of extra stuff printing in some of these that really doesn't need to be there. So we'll come up here, and I know I'm kind of rambling on this one, but this was some ferocious coding yesterday and trying to figure things out and then trying to run things. So we debugged the axle distances here. That'll be right after the other ones. So our distance is 10 hexes, okay? Between 0, 0 and 5, 5 is 10 hexes away, okay? Because you're going sideways, it's a big diagonal. But with the offset of the various, the grid itself, you've got to count up the hexes properly. Now, what I can depict that back up here. It was a day yesterday, let me tell you. Stop. Uh-oh. I think I went too far. No, that's that guy getting the distances of things. This guy. So if we went 5 hexes like this, how many hexes away is that? Okay. So this is what you're trying to figure out. Let's see. So why was that 10? I don't know. I got to go look at that function. So you can see the dilemma that I've been, quandary that I've been playing with. I've been reading C++ writing PureBasic and then trying to test the functions and the equations to see what's going on. So that's my really big update for today. Let's see, the game is doing pretty good. I've got the cursor here. Like I said, I think I'm going to get rid of uh, the menu. I don't particularly care how that comes up. It doesn't work very well. So it's too slow. I don't particularly like it. I'm just going to go with you click the unit. You're in a move uh, phase anyhow, so you're moving units. What are you can right click and clear the cursor. Yeah, see how long that takes? That bothers me. So what I'm working on now is actually drawing the line that shows you the hexes that you got to go. And then what I'm going to do is say, okay, if we're moving this guy and you want to move him here, if you go through this hex, well, that may cost you, 2 points of movement and get to here at 3. You may want to go 1, 2, 3 and get to there versus 1, 2, 3, 4 and go this way, but it's going to let you move, and then I want to move to this hex, and then you can come down here. It'll draw a line and then move to this hex. So I'm going to track how much cost of movement that is to you as he's building these lines and stuff on the grid for you. So all of this is dependent upon the code from this website. And if any of you guys are really interested in this website, can't recommend it enough. This is like a definitive source for hexagonal grids, and how do you do the math of these grids. So well worth a read and a study. So that's the end of this video. As always, thanks for watching.